Well, welcome back to Hillbilly Shipwright. Now this is where we're building our wooden boats, and this is the second boat that we're working on in a 3-boat series from Model Shipways. And this is the Norwegian Sailing Pram here in 1/24 scale. So this is the boat that we're building. And we left off, got my little tab there. Left off getting ready to start step 36, which is going to be the metal fittings. We're going to start with the eyebolt for the bow and go from there. We've got our hinge assembly to do for our rudder and the stay plates for our mast and all that. So we're going to have to take care of all that and get it all installed onto the boat. So let's go ahead and get to work on that. Okay, so here we are, step 36, metal fittings, eyebolt in the bow. There's several fittings to be prepared. Anyway, we're talking about the eyebolt in this particular section, and the kit only comes with one eyebolt, so we don't have to sort through a whole bunch. And it does tell us that the eyebolt for the boat's bow has about a 1 1/4 inch, which is to scale outside diameter. Obviously, ours is going to be much smaller than that. Leave the stem on the bolt at least 4 inches long for now. That is a scale 4 inches. We're not really worried about the length. We're going to trim it back anyway later. And it is used for the painter, which is the rope used to tie the boat up when moored. So here we go. This is what it's supposed to look like. This is obviously the keel, and then the upper portion of the front transom there, or the bow transom. And you can see they have it countersunk there. They say use a small screwdriver to push into the wood a little way. That way it countersinks just a little bit there. So let's do that. So what I have here is a little screwdriver. I think it's more than ample to do this. So that's our eyebolt. We only have one, and it's in its own little separate bag there. There we go. Just want to check the width. That'll be okay, I think. So now we need to take our pram, and I need to kind of get center here of the hole that we have. Probably go in at an angle. I'm just going to press this in. And press it opposite. I don't know if I'm pressing enough. Don't want to go too far. It is soft wood. So we'll just take our eyebolt here. See what it looks like. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. So the eyebolt's not standing proud at the bottom of it there where it meets the transom. So that looks good. We're going to go with that. Oops. So I need to glue that in place. And don't worry about the extra length there. That's just, we'll trim that off later. Need a little bit of CA glue here for this. Something to apply it with. And probably the best thing to do is put it on the eyebolt itself here. Hope you can see what I'm doing, because I can't. Alright, so I don't want it to fall out, and I don't want to get it wrong, so we have a limited amount of time here to get everything set. don't like how it looks that way. Everything looks good until you put glue on it. I think we're there. All right. Eyebolt is in. All right, that was simple enough. I'm gonna let that dry. All right, so that's the eyebolt. We've got our stay plates. So there are 3 stay plates. They do tell us an angle to bend them at. We'll take care of all that. They also tell us the hole that we need to drill in the end whale there is a number 71. So we need to collect all this up. And I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to separate our PE parts here. Make sure that they're all good to go. So we're going to need a piece of glass to cut them on, or any hard surface that doesn't allow the bending. If you cut PE on your cutting mat, that's going to be, you may deform the part. These parts are not that big of a deal, I don't think. Let me zoom in a little bit there. So these are the parts that we're going to be using here. This 1, 2, 3. And same thing when you're doing PE for your plastic models. I'm using the curved blade there and getting right up next to the part. And you just snap right through. Little connection points there. So there's that. I'm going to have to trim these. I need to cut them free. You probably can't see what I'm doing. Let me zoom in. Now I can't see what I'm doing. Now, do kind of trap your parts so that they don't go pinging off somewhere where you may never find them again. These are kind of small, as you can tell. I'm just snapping this off close. Yep, that's already gone. Maybe through, I don't know. I didn't hear a click. There's a click. Well, there we go. All right, so these parts are going to have those little connection points on them there. I'm going to just clip off as much as possible there. We don't want that remaining, of course. So I need to file that a little bit. Find me a file here. So when you go to trim this, you can use a sanding stick too. I'm just going to use this file. And as you can see, you don't want to file crossways because this is thin PE, and any PE, you can bend it. And you don't want to bend it yet, or in the wrong place. So we're just going to clean those little edges up there where it was in the fret. Making it nice and clean. Now you can anneal these. I don't think we need to anneal any of this. I don't think so. So there's one. I'll go ahead and clean the others up. All right, so I have put these stay plates here in a little cup so I don't lose them. Now, one of the things that I want to check before we get any further along, if I can get this situated here, I need to make sure that these actually fit the slots that they go into. Okay, yeah, we're good there. Flip the boat around and check the other side. All right, so we don't have much room to play with, so we're going to have to make sure that when we drill our hole that we actually get it right where it needs to go. So there's that. So now we need a drill bit. So that's a number 71 there. So I got my pin vise here. So something we need to check here. So these are the nails that come in the kit. And these are the only nails in the kit. And I don't know about you, but it kind of looks like these are kind of large for the hole we're going to be drilling. Now that's kind of big. Now these are the only nails that are provided in the kit. These little brass tacks here. They're not even tacks. Interesting. So I'm going to look at this picture here. You can see that the head is relatively large in comparison to the end well there. And it is rounded over. Ours are not rounded over, they're flat. And it does tell us, let's see. It tells us about the pin being too long. You're going to have to clip it short, and we kind of know that. And you're going to use CA glue to make sure that it doesn't. Okay. Check our relationship here with the pin head. And that's kind of what it looks like in the picture. But that is obviously too big. That is not going to go through. Oops. Watch me lose these after I went to the trouble of making or having the added precaution of yeah, that's not going to go. There's no way. All right, I'm gonna have to deal with this. Gotta deal with it. I'm gonna have to drill that out. So I need to find a bit that's the right size. So I've got a 57 here. It's actually too small, I think. Yeah, it's too small. Let's try 58. Did I say 58? I mean 56. As the numbers go down, the bits get larger. That's much closer. Okay. Set that aside. Lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. I'm gonna drill this out by hand. It's brass, and I'm using a wooden block here to make sure everything is reinforced. So So hopefully I'm not bending everything up as I'm attempting to drill this out. It's going to take a second, ain't it? All right, so I don't want the part to slip up the drill bit and bend on me. So I need to be careful here. This, the ones on the side may be the only ones that I need to drill. I probably should have annealed that. See that? Let's go in from the back side. Kind of meet in the middle there. A sharp drill bit would be nice. There it goes. It's going through. I can feel it grab. I've created a burr. Okay, I think we're through. All right, so that does work. So that's a 56 and not a 71. And we can use our 71 as a pilot hole. Help us get started. And then we'll just make it bigger with this rather not so sharp bit. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to check is to see if the one that we have not, the one for the bow, if it'll slide over our eyebolt, or the extension part of the pin there of our eyebolt. All right, so we only have to drill the other one for the side there. For the bow there, we're in good shape, so we don't have to mess with that. So I'll go ahead and drill the other one out. Now, obviously, you can always get smaller nails. What I'm going to do now, though, I need to have a little starter here where we need to drill the hole. I want to be in the middle of our end wheel, which I'm obviously not. I mean, we got just a little bit of room to play, but not very much. Put me a little divot in there. Need to change out my drill bit. Hopefully without dropping it on the floor and spending the next 20 minutes looking for it. That's never good. Okay. So we're drilling these by hand because we don't want any problems with drilling too fast and going straight through my thumb on the other side. That would be bad. That looks okay. So before you get carried away, always check your location. And it does angle, because of the way the end wheel is, you know, on the boat. It does angle up away from the side there, opposite, so we can get our pin vise in there and get that hole started. And we are through. that quick. I'm just going to put a little divot into the opposite side. We don't want to drill through the rub rail. That would be bad. Now our nail is not going to fit through there. We already know that. So we'll switch back to the larger bit. And I'll make the hole just a little bit bigger. Need to be careful that you're not drilling off to the side. Yeah, we're okay. So I'm barely putting any pressure on this because I don't want any splitting out or anything like that. I mean, there's nothing that you can do that you can't fix, but well, let's not do anything that we have to fix. This is taking longer than I thought it was going to. That is a dull bit. These are the cheap bits from Harbor Freight. There we are. We're through. Yeah, I got these at Harbor Freight. And it shows. I need to get some good quality hobby bits. There we go. Let me blow that out. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to double check that everything is going to go together. As anticipated. I'm going to need that part there and my nail. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see what I'm doing because I'm using my fingers here. Little fibers in the way, of course. So yeah, that's going to go together. So we do need to make a make a bend on it. Excuse me. Going to need to make a bend on it. And the reason why is because if you look down the boat here, it kind of angles out. Well, it needs to angle up at about 20 degrees. So I need to know where that bend is supposed to be. And for that, I think I just scribe that on. This is a scriber that I use for my center punch there. Makes a little line there. They may not be exact, but as long as you make both of them the same, then it should be fine. I can barely see my scratch, which is all right. This is going to be interesting to bend. Let me find something to bend this with. So it's a little bending jig. I think it will suffice for what we need. I want to protect the thin part of our stay plate. So I'll put that up underneath the jig there. And I've bent it already. But I bent some of it that I didn't want to bend right there at the hole. So you got to be real careful about that. Does that look like 20 degrees? Actually, it looks like more than 20 degrees. That's a little bit too much. Let me, I'm gonna push it back down a little bit. That's probably a 20-degree bend, maybe. So we're going to check it again here and see what it looks like. And then if our boat is symmetrical, then we should be able to bend the other one opposite. I think it looks good. Oops. Oops. I should have took that out earlier. I just lost it. Now put that in our cup. There we go. All right. So I'm going to bend the other one. I'm going to drill the other side and bend the other one, and then we'll come back and look at what we have. Okay, so getting ready to attach these, but if you look at our nails, the heads are misshapen and they're flat on the tops, and it doesn't look very good. And if we look in our instructions here, it's got a nice little rounded look to it there. And I kind of like that. I don't know that I'll be able to get it as flush as that, but I like the rounded look of the nail or pin heads there. So what we're going to do is we're going to attempt to fix these. So these are brass, and it shouldn't be that difficult, right? I'm going to put it in my pin vise. I need to have enough room where I can get a file in there and still grip onto the nail. Yeah, I can get a file in there without getting too much up into my chuck. I don't want to mess up my chuck there. So I need to fix the bottom part of the head there. I'm just using a file here. If I put my hand on the on my mat, I'm shaking the camera. So, these are just brass, so we should be able to cut a shoulder in. And clean up. There we go. The underside of the head there. So we're making some progress. So I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera because I'm shaking the camera terribly. But the ideal is to get us a nice clean shoulder underneath the head of the of our nail there. So I managed to get a little bit of a shoulder cut. That'll allow it to sit a little bit deeper into the side of the end whale. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of dome the head of the pin here, or the head of the nail, little brass nail here. What I will say is I think they could have done a better job of including some quality brass nails. I mean, you know, might be something that you guys, well, I'm sorry, am I out of frame? Might be something that you guys want to maybe look at when you're building your boat. Sometimes the stuff that comes in the kits aren't necessarily up to par with the look that you want to achieve, so you may have to kind of go outside the kit and yeah, I know I'm using a file wrong. You're supposed to just cut and not saw with it. So we have our 2 pins made, and now we need to cut them down to size. So what we want is for it to, I hate this. These tweezers are not the greatest. So we need to be careful on our length. So it kind of looks like I need to cut this right about there. About there. So I need to get it up into the jaw where it can really cut it. So these are flush cut wire cutting pliers, made for copper, of course. Now when you cut this, it's going to go flying, so I'm going to cut it inside this bag. There we go. So we've captured it. Now all we got to do is get it out of there without losing it. We need to check the fit to make sure that it's going to seat all the way. And since you can't see what I'm doing, I can't see what I'm doing, so we'll use our I think we'll use them. Well, doesn't want to go in the hole. Yes, we had it in the hole earlier. I'm sure it's the edges on it that's keeping it from going in. Maybe I need to polish them down a little bit. Get rid of the burr. Watch me lose this. If I lose it, I'll have to make another. And I'm not really sure how many of these that they have included in the kit, so we're going to do our best to not lose it. Where's my other tweezers? So yeah, these are the tweezers that's got the little teeth, the little serrations in them. And that should keep us from, you know, launching it and never being able to find it again. So there it goes. So it doesn't quite go up to the shoulder where I wanted it to, which means my hole is probably not quite deep enough. I need to be very careful to not lose this. So I'm going to use my, I don't want to damage the wood trying to pull it back out. Put it back in our little safety cup there. And we're going to make the hole a little bit deeper. At least I think we're going deeper. And now we will attempt this again. The more you handle these little parts, the more opportunity there is to lose them. Kind of blow that out a little bit. Just press it in. Well, I think that's going to work for us. So the question is, are we going to be able to get our small part in here, our plate? Everything needs to work all at once. We need to be able to get the nail through the stay plate and into the opposite side. Okay, it goes. I know it stands a little proud, but I don't know what else to do with it. So we're going to leave our stay plate in place, hopefully. Before I do that, I need to go ahead and make sure that I've got my CA glue prepped, because we are going to cement this one into place. Just a little bit. I don't need much. There we go. So I'm going to carefully hold this steel. What's the best way to... I don't want to pull it all the way out. Just want to pull it up. There we go. We don't want our stay plate to move. It's too much. Put it on just like so. So this should just go straight through. Like so. Want to check and make sure that it's in position there, because once everything grabs hold, we're probably done. So, all right, so that stay plate's in. So I'm going to do the exact same thing for the opposite side there and get that other plate into place. Okay, so we got some brass tubing here, if you can see it. It's actually got a hole in it. So the first thing I want to do, well, I'll just explain to you. We need to cut a really small piece off the end of it there to act as a fastener for the bow stay plate here. So what I want to look at, number one, is the angle of our plate. And of course, things never go exactly like you want them to. Get it flipped around here. Oh, and I will tell you that the corners there, the bottom corners of our photo etch part, I did round those corners off because we're not supposed to have any sharp edges inside the boat. And that's kind of what it looks like in the illustration. So the whole point is that this, a little small section of it, is supposed to slide over . So what I'm looking at is I'm looking at our connection point. I hope you can see it. We kind of have an angle going on there, which keeps it from setting all the way down. So I think we're just going to try to bend it here. Try to reduce that angle. And I'm using the tube itself to do this. so that it doesn't come out looking like that. It's more in line with what we need it to do. So that looks good. You can see we've angled it up. So I don't think there's anything that's going to keep us from securing this into place right now. I think it would be prudent to cement it down. I'm going to have to take it off. Keeps sliding down on me. If I could cement stuff upside down, that would be great. But you wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing. And I never claimed that I know what I'm doing. Well, no, that's not exactly accurate. The truth of the matter is, I always know what I'm doing. I just don't know if I'm doing it right. So, a little bit of, oh, no. I need to bend that first. I think that CA glue will be okay. It'll be okay. I just need to give enough room here for the tube. Kind of eyeball it. Yep, okay. This won't take but a second. The CA glue should be just fine on our boat. It doesn't usually set up until you have two parts. Oops, yeah, I kind of went too far there. I don't know, that might be the right angle, but I think that's more like what I need. It does have to angle back towards the mast. Oh yeah, that looks good. I think the instructions give us how many degrees, but good luck trying to figure out how many degrees that is. I think I can press it into place with my tube here. There we go. Line it up. Don't leave the tube on there too long, just in case you got CA glue. There we go. That's what I was afraid of. I was afraid it was going to get stuck. Okay. Might have could have used a little bit more of a bend, but we're going to go with that. Just need to make sure that I got enough room to get my hook into place there for my stay, and I think that'll be good. That'll be fine. All right. So one of the problems that we're going to have in cutting this is in the manufacturing process, brass tends to get hard. It may either be surface hard, semi-hard, or fully hardened. So I am going to anneal it, make it a little bit softer so that I can cut this stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and anneal the whole thing. I got a little hand torch here. You do need to have something to hold on to this with because it's going to get hot. And don't lay it on your cutting mat because you will melt your cutting mat. Even though it's brass and it's going to cool quickly, it doesn't cool that quick. So we'll just go ahead and get this annealed up. Hopefully it'll be softer than the PE was when we was trying to drill that. At least I hope so. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and anneal all this, and then we're going to look at cutting it off. Just one thing about annealing, you're actually supposed to heat it until it turns a low red. And try to get it captured on camera here so you can see what that looks like. See, it's starting to glow a little bit there. I don't know, my light may be a little bit too bright for you to see what's going on. There we go, see it? And just keep pushing the heat down it until you get everything annealed. I'm not going to anneal the very end of it, so I'll know that I've already annealed everything. And then we're going to brighten this back up by sanding it, just to show you. See right there? I dropped it. Trying to put it on my wooden block there to cool. Kind of melted my cutting mat a little bit there. But that's okay. That's what the cutting mat's for, is to protect our desktop. So with all this cool now, we should be able to give it a light sanding here. That'll take all the impurities off of it and bring our luster back. It's not very aggressive. Better. So we're going to be using this quite a few times here. We're going to have to cut a lot of, well, not a lot, I think a total of 5. We need to cut our simulated fastener or nut for the eyebolt. Something going on there. Probably from the cutting. It's flared a little bit, making it harder for me to sand it. All right. As I was saying, we're going to need this one piece for the eyebolt. And then we're going to need 4 pieces for the rudder. And we'll get to the rudder in a bit, but we need to get that nice and set. I am going to true the end of it here. It looks okay. Need to make sure that it still fits over top of our eyebolt. Yeah. Okay. So now we got to cut it. So we need to cut this. I am going to use I'm going to use a hacksaw. So this I need to place in here. Oh, that's going to be hard to hold on to. I'm going to have to place it on the opposite side. There we go. Sorry about the shadow. I can't get my light any closer though. Just need a small piece. That's too small. Okay. So I do have a little hacksaw here. So we are going to flip everything everywhere. Let me zoom out. There we go. I've elevated it on a piece of wood here so I'm not running into the table. I don't think I'm going to be able to do this on camera. We're shaking too much. I'm going to cut this off camera. So we have our little bitty piece. It might be a little bit too long. I need to figure out a way to clean it up. I need to find a drill bit. It's going to fit inside that tube. So you're asking yourself why I need a drill bit. Well, that's so I can hold it. You can put this in your pin vise or whatever, and got kind of a rough start on it. So by putting a drill bit in it, not all the way through, of course, I can hold on to the piece without flicking it off and losing it here. Get it trimmed up and smoothed out from my hack job here with the saw. So, it doesn't look bad. Give it a little polish here. The other thing is we need to make sure that we can get this drill bit all the way through. Without any problems. If there's any burrs in there. So I was just using the back end of the drill bit there instead of the pointy end. Still got a little bit of a slope to it there. I'm trying to clean this up as best I can. So this is kind of like practice for doing the hinges on our rudder. I'm sure I'm going to have many more bad cuts. Or maybe I'll just get better at it. I don't know. All right. That ought to suffice. Don't want to lose it. Very small part. I need to get all this stuff on my mat cleaned up. I don't want to lose that. Let me hold on to that. I don't want any little flakes of brass stuck into the paint on our pram. So that should just fit on there. And we should have enough cement CA glue here to get this done. It hasn't dried up yet. So this is really going to stick once we get it on there, so I need to be ready. Tweezers. We're just going to slide it down, press it into place like so. All right. There it is. Might appear to be a little bit long, but I don't really think that I can cut anything shorter. I mean, it's about the same length as theirs. Maybe. We kind of look at it at the same angle. All right, so mine's maybe just a little bit longer. It'll be fine. So I don't think there's anything that's stopping us from trimming off that eyebolt. CA glue should have grabbed it by now. So I just need to get in there and get flush like so. Just cut it off. And that hit the wall. Probably wouldn't hurt. A little bit of CA glue on the end of it. Okay. So that's done. So all of our stays are in place. Let's see what else we got. Okay, so I readjusted my camera a little bit so that it's not pointing off where I'm not working. Hopefully we can see everything better. So we did our stay plates, and those are all in place. Next is step 38, which is our rudder gudgeons. Now I've already read through all this, and I'm not going to read it again on camera because it is quite a bit. But I will tell you, since we're working with this photo etch, and we did have to drill through our stay plates to make the holes larger. We're going to kind of have that problem with the rest of it. And I started to anneal this, and I realized that this is a really good example of showing you how you need to heat these up to get them to actually anneal. So we're going to do that again. I put my glass down here so I'm not melting into my mat again. And that is to heat these parts up until they glow. And I hope on these thin pieces you can see that they are glowing. Just like that. Now that's annealed, okay? And you can't really get that with a cigarette lighter, you know. So that's the thing there. So that will soften the brass from the manufacturing process. Now we're going to have to polish these up and sand them. So I'll do that on the glass and pretty much clean it all up and then break out the parts that we're going to need there. So I'll go ahead and take care of that. Okay, so I annealed these and cut them out and everything. I just want to show you some differences here real quick so that if you're building this kit, that you're paying attention to that. We do have 4 pieces. 2 of them are exactly the same length there. I need to polish that side a little bit more. But we'll just put it in towards the boat. It'll be fine. So these 2 right here are going to be for the rudder. And then this one goes up high on the rear transom, and this one is going to go low on the gudgeon block on the back of the boat. So we're going to put those aside, and I'm just going to lay these right here. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So we have the gudgeon block here, and that is where this one is going to end up. I think. Let me look. I don't want to be telling you wrong. Let's see. Yes. We have the 2 on the gudgeon block and then the 4 up high on the transom there. Now my block may be a little bit wider than, I don't think it is wider than theirs. But I'm sure that the ones on the rudder are the same size. At least they look that way in the picture. So the 2 that are exactly the same we're going to put on the rudder. And then these 2 we're going to put on the actual hull of the boat. So now this one goes up high and this one goes down on the gudgeon block. Gudgeon block. Yeah. That's kind of how it's going to have to be. So next thing I'm going to do, because our nails are so huge, all the holes are of the same size. Give me a nail out here. Get me a nail out here. I'll show you on this piece. There's no way those are going to go through. There's just no way. So we either change out and get some different nails, or we're just going to modify these and make these nails work. And I just think that these are the wrong nails for the kit. I really do. But these nails are on these pieces. They're supposed to represent bolts. I don't think we're going to make a bolt out of that, but I will take and clean all these up and turn them into something very similar to what we use for our stay plates. I mean, it's got a nice look to it. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to drill all these holes and clean all these up, and then we'll look at what we got to do to put these together. Okay, so let me see if I can explain everything. It's just easier to do it and probably tell you what I did. These are the straps, these two right here, for the gudgeons. Now the gudgeons is the bottom part of the hinge. The top part is attached to the rudders. These two are attached to the boat. The top part that is attached to the rudder is called the pintle. So the gudgeons and the pintles together make a hinge. All right, so with that out of the way, what I've done is I've got a piece of cardboard here and a piece of masking tape. This is blue masking tape with the sticky side out. And I've taped it down to the cardboard there to kind of hold them all in place. So I drew me a line with a fine point Sharpie here onto the blue tape, and then using my rule, I set up a square index line that intersects at 90 degrees to our center line there. That way I'd have something to line these base plates up for our gudgeons onto the tape. So we've got that. So the next thing we need to do, I should go ahead and tell you, I don't think you can see it. There's a little bitty tick mark here and here where I measured out the centers of these plates so I'd know where to put that onto that vertical long black line there. So hopefully everything will be in the middle. So that's those parts. Now I'm going to take some isopropyl alcohol here and I'm going to clean the area where we're going to use CA glue to attach the piece of tubing. So what we have here is two pieces of tubing, and I just put it on that. This is a piece of wire that comes in the kit. So I'm acquiring it for our build jig here. That way, we're going to use it later on, the wire that is, that piece of copper wire, for the block for our rigging. But until then, it'll work good for our jig. So we need to let that dry a little bit. Kind of blow it off. All right. So here's the concept. I'm doing both of them at the same time. So I need to stick our wire to the tape there, and we can move this little piece up here. And this little piece down here probably be better if I laid it down. I'm using the wire as a guide to keep everything straight there. So they're in, whoops. That wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. Kind of popped it around there. It's all right. No harm, no foul. Now we don't want that to happen while we're cementing these up in place or gluing them. So probably best thing to do is to secure that with a couple of pieces of to me a tape, of course. The tension ought to hold them in place. Well, you know what? They're kind of moving around on me, so I was hoping to reuse this jig later on for the top portion, but it's more important that we get it right. We can always make another jig. Okay, there we go. So now what we need, some CA glue. And a clean applicator. And we're just going to cement these into place. Make sure that they're not rolling around. Yep, okay, we're in good shape there. So I don't really want to cement it to the tape. But since the tape is sticky side out, once the CA glue is dry, then it should just peel right off of it there. It should. If all goes well, it will. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to leave that for a while. Give that CA glue plenty of time to dry. And I think I'm careful enough not to have cemented that copper wire into the centers there, because we don't want that wire to stay there. That's going to come off. So we'll just let this dry. Okay, so I've let these dry. So now all we got to do is successfully remove them without bending them all up. There we go. I was worried about that masking tape to masking tape sticky side combination going on there. I was afraid I was going to pull it up and really bend things. So we're going to undo this. Now we find out if we glued our... There we go. So we didn't glue our copper wire in. So now what we got to do now is remove these without bending them up. Let's see. Tweezers. Same thing with the upper gudgeon. I still have a hard time saying it. There we go. So we're up and off. Oops, 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 stuck to my finger. All right. So what I need to do now is I need to clean up A little excess. Now the instructions tell us that go ahead and use some sandpaper and clean that up. And we can surely do that. I think what I'm going to use will be this file. Whoops, I'm shaking the camera again, am I? I'm shaking the camera again. So I'm going to clean these up and sand a little bit of that tarnish off right there that I didn't get earlier. And then we'll look at installing these. Okay, so I have these cleaned up, ready to go. Now this one goes up high on the transom. This one here goes down here on the Gudgeon, I still can't say it, pad there. And this is the brass rod that acts as the hinge that's going to go through them. I'm just going to use it to align everything. So I'm going to do this off camera, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to do before I do it. And that's because I've got a limited amount of space here. And I need to be directly over top of it. And I can't really do that with the camera. But I'm going to use the brass rod to get me in the middle. And set that down right on the pad. With just a little bit of CA glue there. To hold it in place. So, I mean, that went rather well, I think. Not bad. So, that's the plan. We're going to do that first. And then we're going to work on getting the upper one in place. So, I'll go ahead and glue this. Okay, so that went fairly well. I'm going to do the same thing with the upper one. The only difference here is I need to mark out the distance between the two. And we have these little notches that we cut into our rudder back when we did the rudder. So if I line this up with the hinge, then this should give us the location of the upper one. That's the that's kind of the idea there. So what we want to be able to do is drop this into place right there in place. So I think I'm all lined up correctly. Make sure that it's straight. I think maybe. I think what I'm going to do I'll drop this in from above. A little piece of tape will keep it from leaving out of there. So, well, that wasn't great. I run into my sponge I'm holding the boat with. I get it up on my mark, and then I get it over center. Like so. Yeah. There's just no real easy way to do this. I am sure I'm off somewhere. But it looks, I think it looks good. Now remember, nobody's going to be looking at the rudder from both sides at the same time. So, I'll just mark the holes here. And then I'll just drop that back in place with a little bit of CA glue on it. And hopefully everything will come out all right. All right, so that's the plan. That's how I'm going to do it. Okay, so we're ready to drill the holes to put our nails in, which we're going to cut down considerable. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to drill through the upper transom here. So what I've done is I put me a little depth gauge, which is a piece of Tamiya tape there on the end of the bit. So I get down to the tape and we're done drilling. As you can see, that's a very, very small piece of a nail that we're going to actually be putting in. So I'm going to drill these out. This is the same drill bit that we use to drill the holes or make them larger for these nails to go in. So I'm going to drill all these holes out and hopefully everything will remain in place if we're lucky. So yeah, let's do that. All right, so I went ahead and put our nails in. Now we had to cut them extremely short, especially for these right here on the upper transom here, because we can't let them go all the way through, and that's about the length underneath the heads of them was about 2 millimeters. So 2 millimeters is rather small. It's about that much protruding underneath the head of the nail there, so we could get it in there. And then here's the rod that is going to complete the other portion that is attached to the rudder. And so we're going to do those next. So let's get some materials together and see what we got. Okay, so let's see. We've got these parts of our hinge assembly on, our gudgeons. Now we got to make our pintles. And it says they're a little bit trickier. Big surprise, huh? So this is what they're supposed to look like. And that's how they're supposed to look on the actual rudder. So I went ahead and bent one of these up because it looked like it was too short. I'll just kind of show you what we got here. So this is the length of the piece, and there is the thickness of our rudder. And so this piece is supposed to bend around a little bit of this tubing here. And when you do that, I'll show you what we got. We have this little bitty piece here. Now I actually had to widen this versus the diameter of the piece of tubing that we've cut off because of the thickness. I keep dropping stuff. I'm gonna lose it. It's because of the thickness here of our rudder. Now if we were to glue this into place with CA glue, put that little piece of tubing in, our hole, if you can see it, is right on the edge right on the edge of the rudder there. There's no way to do that. And it's pretty obvious to me, even though I'm not actually in the slot here. But even if I was in that little narrow slot, our photo etch pieces are just too short. So it's going to look something like that. And obviously, get the book here, it doesn't look like that. Not anywhere close. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Number one, we need to keep from losing this little piece that we cut. Watch me lose it. There we go. Put that back in the cup. We'll pull that off. Now this is the one that's not been bent yet. So it needs to be longer. And this is the fret that had all of our pieces in. So it looks to me, well, I'm just not doing very well here. There we go. One side will fit. There we go. So the thicker side here, or I should say wider, is the right width. Yep. So what we're going to do is we're going to make us some new ones out of whoops out of this section right here. So all I got to do is cut them to length and cut them longer, and drill 4 holes, 2 in each piece. So I'm going to make us some new PE parts, and we should be able to just cut that with our cutters and just kind of sand or file the ends down. So it might be easier to mark it out and drill it while it's still on the rest of the fret frame here, and then cut it. So I'll probably do that. So I'm gonna have to make some new pieces here real quick. So, well, it won't be real quick, but we'll go ahead and make them. All right, so we got way too much stuff on our bench here. Well, I'll tell you what I did. I just cut me a piece of strip paper here first and bent it around on my rudder to kind of figure the length out before I cut our brass, because we don't have a whole lot of that to be messing up too much. So if I can get it back out of here, show you the difference in length. So that's the original part, which is 9 millimeters, and this is our new one, which is 12. Although we don't want the words. There we go. And that should give us enough. Now I drilled the holes smaller. We'll get to that later. So anyway, that's our part. So this is the pin that will create our pintle. We also use that to line up the gudgeons when we put those on. As you can see, it slides into the tube there, no problem. This is the tube. Now normally when you bend something like this, you want to bend it the diameter of the little piece that's going to go inside it. But the problem is that this is way smaller than our rudder is thick. So what I did was I picked me a drill bit whose diameter is the same as the thickness of our rudder. That way, when we go to glue those little pieces of tube up, we're not trying to open up the piece and breaking our cement job, our CA glue loose. So like any other PE, there's a bug on my glasses. Anyway, I don't know where he came from. It's Georgia. Oops. So as you can see, I'm having a hard time finding center, being off center because of the camera. Okay. So it looks like it's in the middle to me from where I'm sitting. So this is just a big pencil eraser. So just like that, we've started our bend. And if we're lucky, it'll be straight. Now we can take and bend it around our drill bit here. I'm going to use that as a bending mandrel. And I need to stay off of the, I know it's hard for you guys to see what I'm doing. Maybe I'll do it like this. There we go. You need to stay off of the edges where you drilled the holes because it's real thin there and they will fold on you. And you don't want them to fold. There we go. So that should be fairly decent. About the rudder here. Yeah, see, that will just make it around. And we got ample room for our nails to go in. Okay. Make whatever adjustments you need to before you start gluing. I need to take this back a little bit. I think I'm out of camera. Yeah. It's easy to lose these little pieces, so you need to use as much caution as you can. All right, so that one's bent. So the next thing to do is to get this little devil here cemented center of our little divot, our circle there. It should be all kinds of fun. I'm just using my medium CA glue. I use it for everything, so hey, you know, find something you like, stick with it. All right, so I'm going to need this. Now, I don't want to glue this up into here yet, but I do need some way to hold on to it. If I can get threaded into it. Why is it not going? I believe it's, oh yeah, it's collapsed a little bit. So if I had a small reamer, that would work nicely, but I don't. What I have is this. So that's industrial diamond impregnated. Well, anyway, it's a piece of metal impregnated with industrial diamond. It is a jeweler's file for making jewelry. I'm going to use this to open our hole bag up from the cutting process. I don't have a reamer, but this works really good. Teeny tiny reamers are high dollar. And I got that side. Get this side. And as you can tell, you can't really see the part while I'm doing this because it is so small. There's nothing to really hold on to, but the whole thing. So you got to be careful to not drop it. There we go. All right. We were going to have to clean that out anyway, so we are done with that. We got that cleaned out, ready to go. So let's see. Start off with some CA glue here. I got to get the part stuck. Hard to do on camera. I'll probably get it stuck all right. Probably be wrong. Oh, it didn't go too bad. So ours doesn't necessarily look like the one that's in the picture, because obviously I think they've got a larger tube than what they sent us, because there's no way that was ever if it was the same, if the diameter of the tube is the same as the thickness of the rudder, then our tube is smaller. That's all there is to it. But that's okay, we'll make it work. That made everything else work, right? All right, so that's this one made up. I gotta make the other one up, so I'll do that off camera. All right, so I think I've got it dry enough. Now, one of the things we're gonna have to do is I need to trim this up. If you can see it there, kind of protrudes up. It's going to protrude anyway a little bit, but I do need to clean it up some. Get a little bit shorter there. So I'm just using a little drill bit. And this is the pointy end. So we don't want to be filing on our drill bit. Now on the shank, that's no problem. So I'm using the drill bit to hold the part. And I just have it recessed inside the hole there. And then I can work on the part, as small as it is, kind of get rid of some of that excess up there. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything. Yeah, I know I'm sawing back and forth. You're not supposed to do that. But I do a lot of things I'm not supposed to do. So that's how I hold this. And hopefully we don't break the, I know I'm shaking the camera, aren't I? So, see, we're almost there. Since we annealed this, it is a lot softer, easier to work. Now, after I get this filed down to where I want it, I am going to have to come back in and clean that hole up again. So, yeah, these little jewelry tools, there's a set of 4. It comes in the pack, less than $5 at the hobby store. And I think, did I break that loose? No. Okay. Still in business. Anyway, I was saying about those jewelry files. They are worth their weight in gold for a modeler. Probably the best $5 I ever spent. That's about all I'm going to remove. I took it about halfway down. As you can see, the drill bit won't, whoops, well, it wouldn't slide all the way through. So now I can come in and clean that up. So the next thing we need to do is, I'm getting away from the camera again, aren't I? So we got to make the pin that goes in the pintle. So it's just going to be a piece of this wire cemented in, and I'm trying to figure out how I want to do this. So 3/16 and 1/4 inch, those are our measurements. One is going to be longer than the other. The bottom one is supposed to be 1/4. You know, that is so small. I'm going to make mine longer. Well, no, 3/16. There we go. I was on 30 seconds. 3/16. That looks good. I don't need that on there. So we have to use the old, oops. That did not work. There's my mark. Anyway, I can see it. There we go. All right, so we got to use the old bag trick again. As soon as I find the bag. Get everything out of the way. I'll be knocking stuff off the bench here in a second. So when you cut your wire, I already showed you guys this anyway, but put it inside a bag. That way it doesn't go flying away. There it is. So all I got to do is retrieve it. So that's our 3/16. The other one's got to be 1/4 inch. Now, I'm going to take my file and I want to make a little point on it here that'll help us align and feed these in. When we go to set the rudder into place. So that's kind of what we have going on. So you kind of sharpen it. Well, we are sharpening it. You just don't want a real blunt end. Otherwise, you're going to have trouble aligning the rudder, the pintles to the gudgeons. I think I finally said that right. Okay. So now this one needs to be a quarter. A bit short. Quarter of an inch. A little bit long. Somewhere in between. Okay. Back into the bag we go. Snap, crackle, and pop. May need that again for something. And got to fish our part out of the bag. I don't want to dump it out on the mat because if I do, it'll get lost. All right, see? I'm going to clean the end of it up a little bit on both of them. So I've been thinking about this. I don't know if I should put those pieces on and then insert these, or go ahead and insert them now. Probably insert them now. So we got one long, one short. Don't know how I'm going to do that yet. I think, see if my CA glue is still viable. Not very. Need a little bit more CA glue. And I guess I'm ready. So the end that's kind of flush, I want that setting on top of the gudgeon. So I'm going to stick my pin in from this side. Put a little CA glue on it. I'm going to put CA glue on both ends. When we go to stick this together, we got to be quick. Otherwise, it's going to grab. I need it to go in. Got a pair of pliers here. To the top. Like that. Just like that. There we go. We have one pintle. So I'm going to go ahead and glue up the other one. Okay, so we have our two pieces here. And we're going to start with the long one, which would be the one that goes on the bottom. So I need to set the short one out of the way, or I'm not going to lose it. Now, I do have this spread just a little bit. Okay, I lost it. Where? Oh, there you are. Yeah, I found it. Oh. Okay, so anyway, I was trying to show you. I've got it slightly spread because we got to get it over top of the wood, and then we're going to use our tweezers and clamp it down onto some CA glue. But before we do that, we need to double check everything. And that's what the masking tape is for. That tells me where the top of our gudgeons are, which is where the bottom of our pintles need to sit. And obviously I'm a little off on my boat when I put the upper gudgeon on, because I've only got like half the slot there. And I'll go ahead and tell you that you don't need these slots. So if you're watching this video and you're going to build the Norwegian Sailing Pram, do not put these slots in, okay? You don't need them. And the reason why, I think they were thinking that the strap was going to be down underneath the little piece of tube, but it's not. The way they tell you to put it together, the tube is over top it. So if we put this with the tube recessed down in there, it's not going to line up with the gudgeons on the boat. Make sense? I hope so. So anyway, we got to quickly get this on there, get it straight and center and clamp down, and not recessed into the slot. That looks pretty good there. See if I can do that with CA glue on it. Oh boy. I'm going to end up gluing myself to this, I know. Get that out of the way. Probably best, oops, don't lay it down. Glue it to the mat. Probably best to go with my tweezers here. It's already grabbing. Just hold it there a second. All right, it's on. Might be a little off, but then again, that's pretty much me. Oops, didn't stick. We did not stick. Maybe we weren't set up yet. Hold it here for a second or two. It should grab. Not grabbing. Huh. My CA glue's dry. Try it again. I'll stick it with my fingers here. And get my fingers stuck, no doubt. pinch it in and hold it. So we are going to drill these out. Of course, you can't see the hole in it right now because my tweezers are over top of it, but we are going to drill those holes and insert some pins or nails. Now, I'm not using the nails that came in the kit. These are horrible. I don't know who they have make these things for them, but it's a waste of money. Kind of ticks me off a little bit. So I stole the nails out of my Mayflower kit. Now, if you saw the kit review, the Mayflower is the reason why we're learning how to build wooden boats, because I'm kind of stuck. There we go. Yeah, we're kind of stuck on the Mayflower. I didn't know how to do planking. I'm not saying I know how to do planking now either. At any rate, do need to check the fit here. I don't need it to snag while I'm trying to put it on. Yeah, that'll go. That'll go. Now I can't get it off. Come on. All right. Nothing to do but to do it. Got some fresh CA glue laying there somewhere. Now this one sits a little higher than the notch. Because of my little alignment issue there. I probably still got alignment issues. I know I got issues. So you can, after we get the nails in it, if we need to, we can actually bend those pins on the pintle out a little bit. But okay, yeah. Get yourself an assortment of nails. I'll have to replace the ones in the... Well, there's probably not enough for that kit either. I mean, that was part of it. I showed you guys earlier where I was working on the heads of the nails to get them to look good. And I mean, they look okay, but it just takes a long time to do. And we're not going to be using very much in the way of the nail itself going into the wood because, well, this wood is very thin. Well, it looks lined up. That's not too bad. All right, so I'll be using the bag trick again, and we're just going to cut the nail off, like right there. First thing I need to do is drill these holes. So I'll go back and drill these holes, and I'll put those in off camera because, well, it's such a small part, you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing anyway. My hands are going to be in the way. Okay, moment of truth. I'm so sure it's going to fit I'm going to go ahead and put my tiller on. So there's the tiller. If we did everything right, it's going to look okay. So the bottom one is longer so that you can line it up first. Look at that. Beautiful. Just like McDonald's. I'm loving it. Okay. Well, we managed it. Yeah. And it works. So we're in good shape. So yeah, the nails that come in the kit are practically unusable. I spent a lot of time dressing up the ones to put the gudgeons on. And then I thought, well, you know, I've got this other kit that's been sitting around for 5 years. I think I got plenty of time to resource and find some new nails. So I stole the nails out of that kit. So yeah, you need to get the little 12 millimeter, I think they're 1.5s or something like that. Now, in the next video, because I kind of run out of time here, in the next video, we're going to do our oar locks and oar lock plates. And I was hoping to get to it this video, but we're just going to run out of time. And it's kind of funny because everything we've done up to now takes us through step 39, but we don't get to the oar locks and oar lock plates until step 48, I think. 48 oar locks. And what are the oar locks? Well, they're the little U-shaped things there that the oars set in. And then the plates, well, they go on top of the oar lock pads, which are those little wooden pieces there. So yeah, we still got those to do. I'm going to go ahead and do those before we do the stand, because drilling out into these oar lock pads to get those little nails in, it would be hard to do with the boat on the stand kind of thing. So that's just how we're going to do it. All right, special thanks to all my subscribers, because of you guys, that I keep making these videos. And I hope that you enjoyed this one. And if you're not a subscriber, I hope today I earned your subscription. So until I see you guys next Wednesday, bye for now. Oh, and stay safe.